You could take Winston Churchill out of context and make a video and a clip and a loop. They do it with us every single day where, oh, look at what the hags on The View said. Well, they take it out of context. They portray it that way.
Yeah, so anybody who takes the ladies of The View out of context is absolutely scum, not worthy to be stepped on by my shoe. And the reason for that is because the ladies of The View are far, far worse in context. So what we're going to do today is prove that fact by going over this segment where they try to deny the actual legitimate reasons why Kamala Harris is unpopular, while also pretending that it must be because you guys are a bunch of evil white racists. But before we get into that, this video is sponsored, so let me toss it to the sponsor, then we'll come back over here and discuss this whole thing on the other side. Bad sleep is an epidemic in this country. 164 million Americans report poor sleep quality. This is one of the reasons why I'm using these amazing pills over at sleepwithajw.com. These pills have 7 essential vitamins and minerals to help you get a great night's sleep. And again, it's all in one pill, so you don't have to take a whole bunch of different things in order to have a good sleep aid. And if you go over to sleepwithajw.com, you can get your bottle for 51% off, 60-day money-back guarantee. That is sleepwithajw.com.
Democratic leaders are reportedly frustrated over the lack of support for Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, it's apparently led to a rift between the VP and Senator Elizabeth Warren after she responded to some question about endorsing Biden-Harris ticket in 2024.
So I got sent this clip from The View today, which is weird because I distinctly remember these Elizabeth Warren comments being made a little while ago. Maybe I should fact check that. And essentially what they're doing is responding on behalf of Kamala Harris. It's almost like all these members of The View work for her PR team and attacking Elizabeth Warren and other Democrats, gotta love that infighting, for thinking it might be time to replace Kamala Harris on the VP ticket. Now, I just want to point out that Elizabeth Warren is absolutely ridiculous and stupid putting this pitch forward right now in this very moment. And the reason for that is because she is not going to be the beneficiary of this VP swap. And as you guys know, who are long-term viewers of my channel, and from the campaign book Lucky, How Joe Biden Barely Won the Presidency, Elizabeth Warren was clearly the biggest loser in terms of the Black Lives Matter riots because Joe Biden had actually tapped Elizabeth Warren to be his potential VP way back in 2016, and if not for the Black Lives Matter riots, he would not have felt the need to pick a black woman, and thus he would not have ended up with Kamala Harris. So, just so you guys know, the background of Warren specifically talking down to Kamala Harris is bitter jealousy due to the fact that Kamala Harris ended up in the position that Warren saw herself in.
Here's what she said.
Should Kamala Harris be his choice the second time around?
I really want to defer to what makes Biden comfortable on his team. I've known Kamala for a long time. I like Kamala. I knew her back when she was an attorney general and I was still teaching, and we worked on the housing crisis together. So we go way back, but they have to be a team, and my sense is they are. I don't mean that by suggesting I think there are any problems. I think they are.
Listen.
So, hold on. She clarified later on that she fully endorses a Biden-Harris ticket and didn't mean to imply otherwise.
Now, the reason why this is so stupid is that you don't typically want to launch unnecessary attacks in politics that are only going to hurt you going forward. And since Elizabeth Warren will not be the vice presidential candidate for Joe Biden on the 2024 ticket, there is no reason for her to go after the person that would be the VP ticket. In fact, this is one of those rare instances where I actually agree with Ana Navarro. However, we have to talk about her commentary because there's something that she does and has been doing for years that I'm absolutely sick of.
I don't know what the hell is wrong with Democrats. Listen, here's the bottom line, guys. Joe Biden's going to be your nominee. Stop talking about how old he is. And Kamala Harris is going to be your vice president. So stop fretting, stop wringing your hands, and get behind your ticket, because on the other side, the alternative is Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. So you tell me what you prefer.
So like I said, I actually agree with what Ana Navarro said from the perspective of the Democrats. Joe Biden is going to be the nominee. First of all, I told you this way back when he was running, and a bunch of different people counted him out. They were running stories about how he was out of money, that Joe Biden was going to win the Democratic primary, and he had an excellent shot of winning the 2020 election. Well, in 2024, there is no legitimate primary challenger that is going to unseat this man. So if he is alive and running, which he's gonna run because he's trying to become president since 1988, he's not gonna give it up after one term. He's gonna be the nominee. He's also not gonna swipe out his VP candidate because even though it's clear and obvious that the Biden team didn't want Kamala Harris, they tried everything to not pick Kamala Harris, they already made that decision, and changing your VP candidate involves a level of perceived chaos that they don't want drawn to their campaign. On top of that, you cannot swap out, even though Kamala is only a half black woman, the other half is Indian, a half black woman, or somebody who's perceived by the media to be a black woman, with a woman that is pretending to be a Native American. Elizabeth Warren cannot get this position. And since there is no black female equivalent, somebody who has risen to the point, i.e. a senator or a gubernatorial position within the Democratic Party, where they would be higher ranking or equivalently ranked to Kamala pre her being inaugurated as the VP, there's nobody on the bench for this position. So if you're going to replace Kamala, you couldn't go whiter. That's just not a thing that you could do. It can't be Elizabeth Warren, and there's nobody right there to replace Kamala. We all know that Joe Biden did not want her, and essentially he was forced to pick her by the Black Lives Matter riots because there was a perception that they would lose the black vote, which, by the way, was ridiculous because Kamala was not getting you any additional votes. However, the second thing that I want to point out is that the reason why I agree with Ana Navarro's analysis is because I think it's sensible analysis for a Democratic Party insider. But the thing is, Ana Navarro is still pretending to be the Republican. In fact, she is the Republican on this panel. See how The View on ABC is sitting the so-called Republican at the center of this table to supposedly give the Republican analysis. And I know that there's a lot of people, and a lot of those people who end up on ABC, who don't like former President Donald Trump. But the idea that Ron DeSantis is this evil bad person or Trump 2.0 just never made any sense at all. Now, I know there's a lot of ridiculous infighting within the Republican Party, but I've made it clear that a lot of people like Trump as a force against the left, but I think Ron DeSantis is better day-to-day in policy management. And the reason why the left hates Donald Trump versus Ron DeSantis is actually completely different. They hate Donald Trump because Donald Trump does not speak in the way that the left is accustomed to from their politicians. He's not somebody that they view to be in their clubs, which they find to be unacceptable. Amongst old money, Trump would be described as a bore, somebody who's obviously new money, likes to cover everything in gold, and he's not high classy, highfalutin enough for them. Now, while I know a lot of my audience absolutely hate the left for that view of Donald Trump, you can understand why not only people on the left wing, but certain people from certain sections of the Republican Party would not like Donald Trump. However, the reason why Ron DeSantis is so disliked, and we've gone over this over and over again, other than the fact that he was endorsed by Trump early in the Florida gubernatorial primaries, is due to the fact that Ron DeSantis beat Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum, according to the Democratic fairy tale, was supposed to go from being the mayor of Tampa to the governor of Florida, securing that as a blue state forever, then run for president in 2020, become Southern Black Obama 2.0, and be the president right now. Now, of course, Gillum turned out to be somebody who likes to do meth and hang out with gay prostitutes in Miami, but the Democrats have never forgiven Ron DeSantis for winning that, and the fact that DeSantis has proven time and time again to be an extra effective governor on a policy level has only strengthened their resolve against him.
So stop fretting, stop wringing your hands, and get behind your ticket, because on the other side, the alternative is Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. So you tell me what you prefer.
Now, while DeSantis is not your standard Republican, and he does seem like Trump with more management skills in terms of government office to a lot of people, the idea that your Republicans would put him in the same exact category when they would be running against each other theoretically makes no sense. Republicans in elite circles sharing the belief that Democrats have that Donald Trump is a bore should not translate one-to-one to Republicans not liking Ron DeSantis for beating a gay black meth head for the governorship of Florida and then holding Florida and making it significantly more red going forward. These two things do not align. They don't make any sense. And the reason why they don't make any sense is because despite what Ana Navarro actually says on TV, as she's like, oh, I'm so Republican, she is, in fact, a Democrat. She's a Democratic policy advisor. She is rooting for the Democrats. That is the only way that you're going to get on board with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
And I love this. I love that they said in this story, I don't know if it's true, that Kamala is not, that Madam Vice President is not responding to the calls from Senator Warren. Good. If they are going to be doing this, don't show up to fundraise for them. Don't show up to campaign for them. Don't pick up their phone calls. Get with the program.
Now, this is where I totally disagree with Ana Navarro, and her analysis is just ridiculous. But again, she is basically a PR agent for Kamala Harris in this video. Because one of the things that can actually hurt you in a position like the head of a party or the next in line to be the head of the party, like Kamala Harris is, that's what happens when you're vice president, is the fact that the people beneath you don't like you. Because in order to have and hold power, you need to satisfy certain people below you and make sure they keep you in power. And Kamala Harris is not doing that. And this is largely due to the fact that everything about Kamala Harris's career shows us that she's incredibly selfish, mean-spirited, and unlikable, both in public and in private. Now, I know some of you out there are going to leave comments saying, well, Hillary Clinton got the Democratic nomination just fine, but the thing that you guys forget or you don't understand about Hillary Clinton is that Hillary Clinton hates you, the everyday American, the average American with your idiotic complaints. But Hillary Clinton, behind the scenes, treats people in the press, treats the people that she's trying to get on board on her side exceptionally well. One of the things that Hillary Clinton would do is send people handwritten notes on their birthdays and on their kids' birthdays because she was working hard to make impressions in private so these people would support her publicly. That's one of the reasons why she was able to get the Democratic Party to consolidate around her. Joe Biden did the exact same thing. He worked hard to get that key endorsement from Clyburn in South Carolina for decades, building up that friendship. Kamala Harris seems totally inept and incapable of doing that, which is interesting because she started her career by having an affair with Willie Brown, who is the head honcho of San Francisco politics. And I think it's because he protected her all the way through that she never developed the skills necessary, even in private, in order to meet and get along with people. So yeah, Kamala Harris could actually hurt herself if she ever ends up on her own running for president because she doesn't make these connections. And not answering the phone, not campaigning for your senators is one of the ways that you do that.
Listen, you know what they're doing? They're playing right into the hands of Fox News. Fox News every single day goes after Kamala Harris, trying to portray her as inept and some kind of bumbling fool. She's not. That's not who she is. And so Democrats have got to come out and reinforce Kamala. They've got to stop playing into the hands of these people who cannot stand that she is the first woman of color vice president and don't want her to succeed. And by the way, her husband is great too.
So yeah, here's Ana Navarro, our supposed Republican on this panel, saying that the only reason that people don't like Kamala Harris is because she's the first woman of color vice president, and they just don't want her to succeed. Again, Kamala Harris has never really succeeded at anything, except for getting elected to the United States Senate, and if the Attorney General is an elected position, getting elected there, getting elected to the San Francisco District Attorney's Office. However, I will say, Willie Brown had a huge influence among the Democratic Party in California, getting her to that position in the first place, but no, she hasn't done anything as vice president, and by the way, that's actually not all that unusual because the vice president is largely a symbolic position. Essentially, Kamala Harris's job is to not mess up being vice president. However, she has not managed to achieve that.
To say though, I'm a little surprised. I mean, when she was announced as the VP, I was like, it's all over. She's so accomplished, highly qualified.
No. Kamala Harris being announced as the vice president changed nothing. It gained Joe Biden precisely 0 votes at all whatsoever, and she is not so accomplished or qualified. Again, Kamala Harris, you can look this up for yourself, started her political career, got her first 2 political jobs by sleeping with a married man, a Democratic Party bigwig, Willie Brown, out in California. Again, just look it up for yourself. That's how it happened. That is not an accomplishment or anything like that. That's embarrassing.
I'm a little struck by the lack of accomplishments in the policy portfolios she's been given. The border is a big one. It's not a win. No one's going to win. We haven't done major in border security or immigration reform since the Bush administration, but she is tasked with overseeing it, and the border crisis keeps getting worse. And I feel like the Biden West Wing isn't necessarily setting her up for success by giving her things that she can go out and champion at a time when voters, I get the age, like age is not the most important thing, but you are, if you're electing someone who's an 82-year-old in 2024, you need to believe that the vice president is able and willing the next day to be the president. And I think there's some concern about just the lack of policy accomplishments that she's made as vice president.
So here you have a bit of a more honest take that Kamala Harris doesn't have any achievements as vice president. Now, of course, Kamala has no achievements at all whatsoever in her entire career, no landmark pieces of legislation or anything like that, but symbolically she's losing on all these issues, and it's interesting that we get the narrative, again from Kamala Harris's PR team, that Joe Biden's West Wing is not setting her up for success. Now, putting her in charge of the border during a border crisis, not a great plan, not a good option, not a good look. It's hard to win in that scenario, but one of the ways you definitely don't win in that scenario is by never visiting the border that you are very publicly put in charge of. So Kamala Harris taking forever. I don't even know if she's actually gone yet, but I know it was a thing for months and months and months and months that she had not visited the border after being designated the person that was going to sort this thing out. Symbolically looks like a victory, and considering the vice presidency is a symbolic position, having the symbols go against you is the one thing that you don't want to do.
Surprised that there's concern. I think it has a lot to do with this. She's a black woman. Black women get everything done. We've saved this country's democracy for
She's obviously amazing, but what?
So Sunny Hostin right here just goes completely off the rails, and she says, oh, just like Ana Navarro, the reason why people don't like Kamala Harris is because she's a black woman. Now, I just want to point out that Kamala Harris is half Indian, and as we talked about in our Vice panel related to Asians, she only uses her half Indian half in certain contexts, but otherwise she tries to play up that she's this ultra black woman. However, Sunny also says that black women have saved democracy in America for centuries.
Surprised that there's concern. I think it has a lot to do with this. She's a black woman. Black women get everything done. We've saved this country's democracy for
She's obviously amazing, but what?
Listen, I am sure there are absolutely some fine black women in the United States of America, but women overall were only allowed to vote in the United States of America for a little over 1 century. So the idea that black women in particular have been saving American democracy, which is around 2.5 centuries old, for centuries is ridiculous and absurd. The idea that black women get everything done by the statistics, that is just not true. Sorry. I mean, Kamala Harris is Asian, specifically Indian, the highest income earning demographic in the United States of America, Canada, and the UK. So if you want to talk about a group of people that get it done, it would be that half of her family. But yeah, she's just wrong in every regard here. But, you know, black girl magic, whatever stupid meme that you get from the internet that supposedly means Kamala Harris has accomplished something when she definitely hasn't. But Sunny's gonna throw out some examples and we'll judge them one by one by one by one, and guess what? They're all gonna be bad.
Specifically.
But, well,
like, no, I mean,
where shall I start? I mean, she was in the Senate, of
but
course.
no, I
she
mean,
was the
as
Attorney
vice
General,
president, of course,
as vice
she's highly.
president.
So like I said, Kamala Harris's only accomplishments were getting to a position where Joe Biden had to pick her. State Attorney General, United States Senator. So that's what is listed out right there. Her accomplishment was winning her races, not doing anything on a policy front, and it's very revealing that Sunny Hostin puts that forward. But let's get into the policy.
The Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, she
What
was the
Mike
face
Pence
of
do?
Roe v. Wade. I mean, the list goes on and on.
So Sunny Hostin, who said, where should I start so confidently, talked about Kamala winning 2 elected positions, which, you know, credit where credit is due. She hustled to get herself in the position to win those races. She campaigned, spent money, and all of that. And then she says the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed by Congress and signed by President Joe Biden, and last time I checked, Kamala is not in the Senate anymore, and she's not President Joe Biden, so that definitely doesn't count. She had nothing to do with it. And by the way, the Inflation Reduction Act did not work. It just spent a bunch of money. But then she says she was the face of Roe versus Wade. Like Kamala Harris was Roe back in the original case. No, she was the vice president when Roe v. Wade was struck down as legal precedent. So Kamala Harris didn't do anything in that regard either. She failed in that regard. If you're going to say she was the face of Roe v. Wade, she's the face of the loss. That makes no sense.
I'd like to ask you, what did Pence do? What did Pence do except put his lips firmly on the butt of Donald Trump?
So it's funny that Sunny Hostin immediately pivots to Pence when she says, where should I start? Realizes she named no accomplishments in terms of policy for Kamala Harris, and then immediately is like, well, what did Mike Pence do? Now, as I said, the VP's job is very symbolic, and what you need to do as the VP is not mess things up. So Mike Pence kind of did that job. On top of that, these are the same people who said that Michael Pence not certifying the election was him standing up to Trump. But apparently that's completely out the window right here, even though January 6th was the day that our democracy fell. Where were you January 6th? I was in a car dealership trying to buy a car, and all of a sudden, when the guy was telling me frame damage wasn't serious damage, our republic got frame damage. Democracy worldwide was destroyed, and only Mike Pence refusing to back Trump and black women who have saved democracy for centuries in this country were able to stop the greatest insurrection. Where were you January 6th? Where were you?
Is there any fair conversation to have when it's someone, a woman, a gay man, a person of color? Because one of the things is it's not just Fox.
So that's very interesting how she opened that question. She said, is there any fair way to open up a conversation when you're talking about a woman, aka a Democratic woman, or a gay man, that's Pete Buttigieg, also Democratic man, that doesn't come off as an ism or phobia? Now, she didn't really finish out that thought.
The Daily Show had this reel that played because they were saying this is the new episode of Veep.
She kind of pivoted to something else, but the thing is, the reason why they put these symbols, these mascots of diversity in these positions is that so when they fail, when they do not achieve, they can always blame all the criticism on the isms and the phobias, and that's exactly what they're doing with Kamala Harris. She's uncharismatic and unlikable to the general population. She didn't get Joe Biden one single vote. She didn't do anything for the Inflation Reduction Act or being the face of Roe v. Wade. Pathetic, Sunny Hostin. And she deserves the criticism that she's getting.
And it was like this word salad of some moments that were just, I think they called it a word salad, which is why I use that. But it was like repetitive moments that, for me, when I see a leader, I want to feel like I'm going to be okay. Obama was brilliant at this.
Right.
When you saw him speak, there was a charisma, a confidence, a safety in hearing him.
So essentially she's saying that Kamala Harris makes a fool of herself each and every time she speaks, and this is largely due to the fact that her speaking technique is terrible. She tries to do this thing where she hikes up the pitch in her voice, and then she repeats things, and she's trying to like laugh along with you, but the thing is, you're not laughing. Now, I will say, it is completely unfair to compare to Barack Obama, because whether you agree with him or you're most likely representative of my audience and you vehemently disagree with Barack Obama, the man on prompter speaking Obama was absolutely great. His delivery is something that you should all aspire to. His cadence, all of that really sold his position, so it's kind of hard to compare a woman with zero charisma who makes Hillary Clinton sometimes look charismatic to Barack Obama, one of the most charismatic politicians in American history. It's just not fair. It's not reasonable. She is not even comparable to Joe Biden as he's fumbling and bumbling. That's how bad Kamala is. So don't start on the freaking A tier in terms of charisma and delivery.
You could take Winston Churchill out of context and make a video and a clip and a loop. They do it with us every single day where, oh, look at what the hags on The View said. Well, they take it out of context. They, they portray it that way. I just saw Kamala Harris give an incredible speech about climate change in Miami.
No, we don't take it out of context, Anna. We play you in context, and you're worse in context than out of context. So she said, oh, wow, they do that to us, and they make us like a bunch of gaggling harpies. That's who you are, Anna. You're pathetic in every possible way, and you're like, oh, wow, Kamala Harris gave this very inspirational speech. No, she didn't. Now, look, I don't think Kamala Harris is going to be replaced as VP. I think she will be on the ticket because it's too much perception of instability to actually do something like this. But I want to know what you guys think. Is Kamala Harris an uninspiring, uncharismatic hag, or is it just evil white racism and sexism that makes you believe that this woman isn't organic and charismatic and fantastic? Let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about The View, trying to run defense for Kamala. Till next time.